Welcome back everybody to another episode of the GC Informer. I am Snowy, otherwise known as Count Dracula, bringing you the latest gaming news. Let's start with the big one. Google have announced and properly revealed their game streaming service called Project Stadia. S-T-A-D-A. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Sorry, Stadia. S-T-A-D-I-A. I do apologise. Anyway, so Project Stadia is the latest announcement in the ongoing trend towards cloud gaming, which I think, whether or not you like it, is academic at this point. It's probably coming. And in fact, this kind of just all but confirms it, really, because, you know, it's got Google involved, and, you know, aside from maybe Microsoft, there aren't many companies more able to provide such a service, in my personal opinion, than Google, because they run Google. While we have no rough release date on at all, we know it's going to be coming later this year. We have no data on the pricing just yet, but we do know that a set-top box will not be required to use the service. It's going to be completely based off of just through already existing devices. You'll be able to use it through a Chromecast if you have one. That's what I use on my TV a lot at the moment. It's a very good little device, and I think probably once an updated Chromecast, I think it'd be the version 4 is the next one to come out. That would be quite a nice valid platform for it to work with. It will also work through just the Chrome browser, so even if you have like a crappy, like a Chromebook or like a crappy laptop, you'll be able to use the service. And it will also work through, at the moment it's planned to work through Pixel devices, but they are planning to support more platforms at a later date. Now, the main draw of cloud gaming is the fact that you can get a lot of computing power out of a device that's not doing the work, because the work's going to be handled at the other end by a server. And in fact, they have been boasting some specs which are quoted as being specifically higher than the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. That is specifically because, though, it's specs that are happening somewhere else. They're happening on a server rather than on the actual device you'll be playing on. And we do also know that there is the big issue overhanging cloud gaming, which is latency and just general connection issues. I know sometimes, it doesn't happen very often, but my Chromecast just decides that it doesn't want to be connected anymore and just crashes. You know, so get it maybe once a week, and it just decides, no, I'm not connected, honest, and you have to wait for it to be connected again. And this isn't an uncommon thing in just devices in general. While I have very stable internet at my house 99% of the time, the other 1% of the time, it's not great. It sort of stutters or it bugs out and it just goes, no, I don't want to work. And I'm probably in one of the more well-off positions in terms of internet connectivity, certainly, compared to people like Sully and Mark, who live in Australia with notoriously poor internet in that country. And other countries arguably have it a lot worse. So cloud gaming is one of those things that will probably be incredibly viable in 5 years, but at the moment it depends on what your house basically can do, what it can pull in terms of internet speed that would affect your ability to use this service. So Google are very much being the forerunners on this service. I mean, admittedly, PlayStation did it first with PlayStation Now's the streaming service, yes, but that received not very good, it's not had a lot of praise, that platform. So Google are very much wanting to be the forerunners to get this correct, very much like HTC with the Vive wanting to be the forerunners and getting it correct in terms of VR. So we'll see what happens, basically. Watch this space. Now for a slightly older story that I think is still worth talking about. Epic Games in its store has found itself in a bit of hot water again. It seems to be doing that a lot at the moment, but this time it's specifically because the client is accessing data on a user's machine that it probably shouldn't and doesn't really need to. It's accessing a specific API for Steam that gives it access to things like your friends list and your game library. This API is basically, it's an information file that keeps all that information on your PC so that it doesn't have to keep loading it up each time from a server. And that's a good file to have there, but it doesn't really need to be accessed by a client that ostensibly has nothing to do with Steam. And this has led to a lot of backlash by gamers who are, rightfully unimpressed at their invasion of their privacy. And there was a bit of, sort of dodging the point by Epic Games over the last couple of weeks, and then even when they admitted it in not the greatest way possible. When Tim Sweeney decided to say that it was because of Fortnite, and in fact he outright admitted that the client had been rushed to launch because of Steam, but I still don't really see why this needed to be accessed. I don't know why this config file needed to be accessed, but it is being accessed, so if you use the Epic Games Launcher, be wary of that. And Valve have stated that they are none too happy with this because it's, another client, another application is basically fiddling with their service, and it's not really something that they've been given explicit permission to do, and it raises a lot of privacy concerns, and it raises a lot of concerns from Valve, who are looking at this and going, well, what are you doing with our files? That's not something you should be doing. This is just the latest in a growing list of stories where Valve and Epic Games have been locking horns basically because they're not happy with each other. Steam is not brilliant, and Epic Games, well, look, both clients aren't brilliant. Epic Games has these privacy issues, amongst other things, and as a store it is very feature incomplete, whereas Steam, while being a very feature complete store, a very sort of working store and library system, it is also all full of shit. So much shit and so little quality control. There's really, you'd think there'd be a line between those two extremes, but apparently not. Oh wait, there is. It's called GOG Galaxy. Go and try that. It's a great client. But yeah, this is the latest in a series of cock-ups from Epic Games. Basically, this isn't a thing that they should be doing, but they are. So hopefully it's going to get resolved, because there's been a lot of backlash about this. That brings us to the end of this episode of the GC Informer, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe, share, whatever you fancy, and our social links are down in the description. As always though, stay tuned to GameCast for news, reviews, podcasts, let's plays, lots of great content, and hopefully tomorrow there will be a Pokemon podcast, a pocket edition on Pokemon, that won't get blocked worldwide by France TV, like it did today. Fabulous. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon for something else.